of Assata Shakur. We make this movement towards freedom for all those who have been oppressed and all those in the struggle.
In your book, you were talking about a sister you had met in prison, and her name is escaping me. It was 2 L's, and she was somebody you admired very much. Her name was LL. Yes, ma'am. And you were talking about your introduction to liberation theology. I was just wondering if...
Not through her, but to a nun. I had a nun in prison.
Oh, okay.
Was the person that really introduced me to liberation theology. Yes.
I was just wondering how, since the time of the book, or since that time, you have, how that has helped you in your conception of struggle. If I remember correctly, there was some discussion between a belief in Christianity versus communism, socialism, and the conflicts between the two. And I was just wondering where you are today with all that.
Well, I think that being spiritual is important. It helps people to internalize what they believe. I don't believe that there's only just religious spiritualism. I think that spiritualism takes many forms. In my own personal life, I've studied religion. I've been interested in it because I grew up, down south North Carolina, and the church is the center of everything. And then I studied Islam. And then when I came to Cuba, is when I discovered the African part of religion that I'd never known about or never really been that interested, I guess, before. And it's been important for me. I'm a student of religion, and I believe that it's not either or. I believe that each religion has something to contribute, has wisdom, and that I believe that wherever you find wisdom, you should suck it in, breathe it in. And so finding and studying the Cuban African religions is important to me. And I'm a person that's developing spiritually, hopefully developing intellectually, hopefully in other ways. Because I believe that life is a journey where what you do is you learn and you expand and you try to grow. We don't just grow up. We should continue to grow and hopefully grow better. And so I think that what I look for, what I try to internalize, and what a sister that's a good friend of mine, was telling me that spirituality is something you should work at to find a peace, a place where you can peacefully deal with what you have to deal with and do what you have to do. And I believe I have a job to do, and I believe I need help in doing it, and I look for spirituality to help me to do it. I don't know if that answers your question.
Very much so. Just that I noticed at home, speaking with friends, conflict, if you mention socialism or communism in a discussion, people are often, well, I don't even want to say often, but sometimes they get turned off. I was just wondering how you would present
Let
that.
me give you a theoretical answer. Let me turn that around a little bit. I think that one of the most damaging mistakes that was made in many processes, countries that were attempting to build socialism, was to have a very narrow view of religion. obviously, I mean, it's, we talk about life evolving, and religions also can evolve. To take religion and analyze it as a static dogma is to just completely obliterate religion's ability to evolve. Morality, if you judge morality today, of course the questions are not the same as they were 2,000, 4,000 years ago. And we need answers for morality today, not just, that were found in books that were written by people whose consciousness, who lived in a slave state, who lived in a feudal state. But I think that when you talk about building a socialistic process, then you are talking about building that for people. If you talk about revolution has to be popular. And in most countries, religion is very strong. So if you have a hostile attitude about religion, then that falls over into a hostile attitude about what people believe. If you eliminate religious people, then you're eliminating 9% of the population, and so you're in big trouble when you try to build a revolution. So that I think that when Marx is quoted as saying that religion is the old people, I mean, it's quoted, he's quoted in that context by people who haven't read much of Marx on religion. What Marx essentially did was study European religion in Europe, and he kind of focused on the early Christians and their kind of communal way of living, and called that kind of communism, and then analyzed how religion was used during feudalism to prop up a feudalistic system, which is true, etc. But I think that what anybody who wants to wage a struggle to liberate a country has to do is to work hard to see that the religious institutions in the place where you're struggling don't become pockets of reactionary viciousness, and that really people in those institutions are familiar enough with the struggle for social change, and with those who are making that struggle, to see it as something positive and as something that is not threatening to their support system, their emotional support system. Because for poor people, many times you can't go to psychologists because you can't afford it. You can't go to counselors because you can't afford it. And the pain of being oppressed, being poor, being downtrodden in society is acute, whether we acknowledge it or whether we don't. And so people need something to turn to when nothing is there, when the pain is unmitigated. So you cannot tell people that resource that you're using has no value. And so I think that, as people who are interested in struggling in the future, that we have to be much more sensitive about religion and much more sophisticated in analyzing religions, not only from a Eurocentric point of view, not from a Eurocentric point of view, but from a worldwide point of view, because there are many religions in the world, and we are terribly ignorant of most of them. And that's it.